Hello everyone, my name is Adam Michael Anthony Simpson and you're watching my YouTube channel, Adam M.A. Simpson. Today we'll be speaking with PhD candidate in the School of Education, Dr.to-be Rosa Chavez. Now, Rosa is a fellow DARE, that's Diversifying Academia, Recruiting Excellence. She's a fellow DARE fellow with me. Now, I really enjoyed this episode because I wanted to include some education research, particularly in STEM. So Rosa studies, math and teachers that prepare students for exams versus teachers who prepare students to learn math, and the differences in grades and outcomes of that education style. And she incorporates something called quantitative and qualitative methods in her research. And I really wanted to do this episode because I wanted to drive the point that qualitative research, which is sometimes not disregarded by scientists, but it's the scientists kind of say that it's not scalable. I wanted to drive home the fact that qualitative research is important because it, gives us the richness and understanding of the many unique cases that humans exhibit. So Rosa really gets into describing her research using these methods and the importance of both quantitative and qualitative research. So please stay tuned to this episode with Rosa Chavez, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, Rosa Chavez, my fellow DARE fellow in the 2020 to 2022 cohort. Please introduce yourself. I'm so happy to have you here today, this week on the episode.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Rosa Chavez. I am a fifth-year doctoral student here at Stanford. I study mathematics education, and I'm particularly interested in how teachers make sense of policy to shape their instruction and ultimately how students see themselves as math learners and develop their math identities.
Lovely. And so, Rosa, please describe your personal life story and how this led you to pursuing a graduate school degree in education.
I guess I can start with, from a very young age, I loved math, right? Like, it was something that I was good at. I participated in different engineering groups in elementary. One of the big things that I remember is doing robotics and creating a car that we raced. And that for me was amazing, right? So from a very young age, I wanted to pursue engineering, particularly civil engineering, which is amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had a course, a life course, K-12 course of being, taking as many advanced courses in math that I could. And I felt that once I hit a block, right? Once I got to pre-cal, and my teacher said to me that when I asked for help was, I thought you were supposed to be advanced. And that stuck with me of maybe I'm not good at math, and maybe math isn't something that I should pursue. And so I did do a pivot. I pivoted to journalism. I studied undergrad mass communication and took calculus as a course for myself, as a fun course. And from there met a faculty member who encouraged me to pursue a double major in mathematics and journalism, and decided to nix the double major, but pursue a master's degree in pure mathematics. So I have a master's degree in pure mathematics.
Wow.
And that led me to wanting to go back into the classroom, right? So I really was interested in thinking about how can we support students to develop positive identities with mathematics in ways that don't shut them down, even if they are more what we consider to be more advanced students and are more.
I just wanted to point out that this story that Rosa is saying is not uncommon. Many people in high school had interest in certain topics, but just met with the wrong person in authority that, discouraged them to pursue their dreams. And this also happened to me in high school. I won't say the full story, but please, if you're in charge of youth, be cognizant that little things that you can say or the little things that you say can impact their lives in very big ways, because children or, teens growing up are, little seedlings that, or sponges that absorb everything that you say. So be cognizant. Just a little tip. Thank you.
More like what we consider to be more advanced students and are more able to like engage with the content, but they can still struggle, right? We often don't feel that students can struggle in that sense. So I went into teaching. I worked in a school for 2 years, dropout recovery campus. That's what it was classified as, where my students were 18 to 26 years old.
Wow.
And they had experienced consistent failure with standardized assessments in Texas. And then that led me to teaching in a middle school where I felt like maybe we start thinking about how does state testing affect students from an earlier age. And that's what led me to come here, right? I was like interested in continuing to study policy, how policy shapes how students see themselves as math learners. And had I not come to graduate school, I probably right now would be an elementary teacher, would have worked myself down. But
wow, worked yourself down. I usually hear working your way up.
Yeah. So I think I would have loved to be an elementary teacher and like really support students thinking about how they see themselves as math learners from a young age. Yeah, so that's sort of what led me to pursuing a graduate degree here.
Wow, okay. So
in between this episode, I just wanted to bring out there that I've started this print line of my art through drawing and painting, and you can access the print store in the description box below. I'm just, putting my work out there, and please help me because I'm trying to, establish multiple income sources or income streams. So please check it out. Please help me. Thank you.
I know mixed in on this in all of this, you also pursue outreach activities. So what outreach activities give you life?
I think for me, it's creating change for people who feel that change is impossible, right? Helping others see that that we belong in spaces, particularly for those of us who feel that we've often been shut out by the educational systems. And for me, that really gives me life, is thinking about how can we create space. There was a scholar recently at a conference that I attended who said the difference between presence and belonging, right? Like, I don't want to just support people to feel like they're present in the spaces, but like truly belong in spaces. I think for me that's what I like really gives me life. And in terms of outreach, what I do with that is supporting other first gen scholars, undocumented scholars, Latina scholars to pursue higher education. And I that's one of the things that really gives me life, is being able to provide mentorship and support for others to see that we can all make it, and we all need support to do that.
I love that. And so I believe in these trying times, I know on the border, that kind of work must mean a lot to you. Seeing families struggle to make it into the States. So now, could you briefly tell us about your work? I know you do both quantitative and qualitative research, doing like interpretive studies. So before I get into the second half of this interview, where we really speak about like, how does your work impact society? I'd love you, the expert, to kind of glean us into what those differences are, so that we can understand your work.
Yeah, I can definitely try.
Yeah.
So I think for me, right, quantitative research is so helpful for us to think about how to explain relationships in a large scale, right? So we want to think about, large scale analysis, like what would it mean for the entire population? But I think there are nuances that we lose when we only think about it on the large scale.
Exactly.
Because what's great about the qualitative research is that it gives us the deeper stories, right? Like the meaning of what's actually happening related to education, particularly, like what's actually really happening within classrooms. Like, who are the people telling the stories of the people who are doing the work within education systems? So like the teachers, highlighting the teachers, the work that happens in the classroom, the micro interactions that happen when students are learning together with each other that can't be explained when we reduce students, teachers, other stakeholders in education to numbers, right? When we just reduce them to data, all of that. So I think what's great about like mixed methods is that we can get that deep interpretive analysis of what's happening in classrooms and connect that to large scale data to think about how would it look like to think about this on a large scale. But I think I still have some caution in terms of you can't scale out those micro moments and those like micro interactions that are very meaningful and are very dependent on context.
I completely agree. And it's funny to me how in the research world, especially in academia, we might put more weight on quantitative research methods, but the process to get into academia is very interpretive. You have to do these interviews and job talks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you know, such is humanity. We have all of these things that we just can't really understand.
Thank you for watching part 1 of my interview with Rosa Chavez. Please like and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for part 2.